Okay, episode 4 is in the books. Sorry for posting this so late. I meant to post this last week, but I got busy with work and all sorts of other stuff. I gotta get my house ready for a baby shower for our lovely friend Kelly. Congratulations, woohoo! Today's special guest is Joe King, and it's special because it's largely because of him that I was inspired to do a podcast in the first place. He had a podcast called the Video Game Book Club, which is sadly no longer, and he had me on as a guest, and I was super nervous. I drank like 6 beers in like a span of an hour, it was just a nervous wreck. I can't believe I even got through it. But basically, I loved his podcast so much, and I was like, man, I want to do that, and so here we are. But it's also special because he had just moved to Texas to work in the video game industry. And as all of you know, video games are sort of a hobby of mine. He went to go work for Gearbox. Yeah, the guys who made Borderlands and Borderlands 2. So in this episode, we talk about really his quite inspiring journey on how he got to work for Gearbox and how they said, hey, come move to Texas. And he was like, okay, I'll just fucking go. And then he did. It's awesome. It's a great story. And excited to share it with you guys. So here's Joe King.
Are we live? Are we doing it live?
We're doing it live.
Do it live.
Let's fix this damn mic. Put this dick in my face
Mine's
real quick.
okay. I think my dick face is okay. Maybe I'll tilt it just a little.
Welcome to another episode of the Video Game Book Club.
Yeah, kinda. I don't know. It's. I guess.
It's a special episode of the Video Game Book Club.
This is very.
We got
It's
that.
a very detached episode of Video Game Book Club. Detached from reality.
We should have got Doogie.
We should. Yeah.
Man, I've only met like Doogie like twice maybe.
Yeah. That's enough. That's about enough.
That's about right.
I'm just kidding.
We don't need any more of.
I love that guy. I'm hoping I get to see him while we're in town.
Have you seen him since you've been in town?
No, not yet. Not yet. I sent him a text and invited him to go with us tomorrow to watch the hockey stuff downtown. And he's like, well, it's my girlfriend's birthday, so I don't know, we'll see, which is totally understandable.
Yeah, I get that, bro.
but-
We're both married. We
Yeah,
understand.
we get it. We get it. But yeah, so I don't know. I hope I get to see him though. I'm gonna do everything I can to see him. That's for sure.
Well, when was it? Okay, so I asked you this before. What was your last episode of the Video Game Book Club?
I can't remember what month it was. I think it was like I moved to Texas. We basically moved to Texas in March, and it was probably like last April maybe or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to look at the feed because the episode will be dated, I guess. But like it was something like that. It was like last spring sometime. It was pretty. We hadn't lived in Texas all that long before we did that.
Yeah. So I understand like you moving to like Dallas kind of, because I'm asking this because I really enjoyed your podcast.
Yeah.
And your podcast, when I was on it, like opened my whole world.
Yeah.
To like podcasts. I mentioned that,
fun
on
episode too,
the
yeah.
podcast.
That was a really fun episode. I was actually listening to that a while back.
So it was your
some of it.
podcast that kind of inspired me to like be confident enough to like have my own setup and
Yeah. It's fun.
yeah. So like
It's really
a couple
fun.
years later,
Yeah.
here I am, and here you are on mine. So this is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Thank you for doing this.
Coming full circle right now.
Yeah, it's coming full circle. But so obviously you couldn't have done it. Being it difficult, you living in a different state, and Doogie living out here.
Yeah.
And did you guys
It
at least
was-
try to do like
the plan
a Skype
was,
thing?
The plan was going to be to do that originally. Like originally, the plan was going to be that I would move to Texas, and once I got my setup, once I got all my stuff there and my setup rebuilt and all that, we would just do it remotely and just continue on as normal. But then I felt weird doing it because, like the idea of the podcast was that we were talking about games from like from the perspective of just gamers, right? And of course,
Consumers.
Yeah, consumers. And of course, the reason that I moved to Texas was to like join the industry. So like it felt weird and disingenuous to me to be sort of like speaking about games from one angle as if I didn't have this other angle kind of like tucked in my back pocket. You know, it just like felt weird, and I was kind of like,
Didn't know how to balance it.
Yeah, and at first, like, I told Doogie, I was like, yeah, here's the thing. And he kind of, like, had this sort of, like, I don't want to say this attitude, but, like, he had this, like, feeling of, like, I kind of saw this coming, dude. You know, like, okay, here we go. But then when I explained to him, like, where I was coming from and why, you know, it wasn't just like, I don't know, man, I don't know. You know, it was like, yeah, but here's the reason.
We got to break up the band,
He's like, okay,
man.
dude. He's like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. So he was totally supportive of that. And, you know, I kind of hated that we had, you know, that it kind of had to go that way, but I just felt like it did, you know. I just felt weird about it.
Yeah, well, it's you had that huge opportunity present itself.
Yeah,
and I have to ask, so for our listeners, for my 100,000 listeners,
for the listeners,
this is the most top-rated podcast on iTunes. If you didn't know,
yeah, I didn't know that, but I'm still not keeping up with the podcast on iTunes thing, so I didn't know.
But I want you, because you have a job that is a dream job for me.
Yeah,
and
fun.
Like to be able to work in a place like Gearbox, or it seems like a very like Google-esque kind of company. The building you walk in, there's all these crazy kind of furniture.
Yeah,
a little bit, you know,
it's,
and like really cool.
I don't know.
Atmosphere.
One thing we do have that's suspicious, or we don't have that is suspiciously missing from our office is a slide. Right?
Why don't you have a slide?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I'm trying to find that out. I'm like, hey, hang on. We have this, I'm using my quote fingers for the listeners, this epic staircase that goes from the 5th floor to the 4th floor, and it's really great. And for the Battleborn fans out there, there's a big statue of Montana from Battleborn on this epic staircase, which makes it even more epic. And there's like a big Gearbox logo there, and it's really cool. But I'm kind of like, the epic staircase is great and I love it, but what about like an epic swirly slide? You know, like when can we get one of
or
those?
A fire pole?
Yeah, or a fire pole would be great. It's probably like a liability thing, you know.
Too many people injured
so
themselves.
I can work out in the gym and sign a waiver, but I can't jump from floor to floor wearing some crazy moon boots. Can I just sign a waiver for the moon boots? Like, come on, man. Come on.
I mean, a fire pole is, you know, like, wouldn't you want to have a fire pole in
Yes.
your mansion, your
Yes.
theoretical mansion? A fire pole has always been in mine. At least a fire pole and a lazy river underneath my hallway.
Oh, man, a lazy river would be so good. That would be so good. Wow. Yeah, so many ideas.
And there'd be a glass over the lazy river.
Yeah.
So that I can hit a button and the glass would recede.
Would move. You could either walk across,
Or I can feel like swimming and
or
swim
you
to
can
my
jump
kitchen.
in and have fun. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So
back to my original question though, I want tell me the journey of like getting that job, because I know there's a lot of people out there, including myself. I wanted to like somehow, I don't know, be a gaming journalist or something. I'm not the greatest writer, but I wanted to do something with video games.
Be involved with it,
and being involved in some way.
That's pretty much where I was, and I was working at this warehouse here in Nashville, and it was just miserable, you know. And I remember having it was like the summers you sweated your ass off, and then in the winter you froze your ass off because like it's not a climate controlled environment, which is really funny. You will realize this, but it's really funny because we had like drums and percussion equipment in this environment that was like changing temperature, and I'm like, hang on a second.
Does anyone check the science on this?
This doesn't make sense, you know, right? But whatever, it didn't matter in my opinion. It made sense that there's obviously like an overhead to that sort of thing, so whatever. I didn't really care that much anyway. But I'm working at this warehouse, and it was miserable. And I remember having this conversation with a buddy of mine there, and you know, we were kind of commiserating with each other about how miserable we were, and he was like, well, you know, the classic question, right, when it comes to your career path, like, if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? And, you know, I said something like, oh, well, I'd work for a video game studio. I think that'd be really fun, you know, like work for a video game company doing, you know, like community type stuff would be really cool. And he was like, and he gave me like the classic kind of shutdown answer of, oh, yeah, man, but that's like too hard. That's too competitive, or you could never do that. And he wasn't trying to shit on my dream or anything. It was just saying like, it's because it's true, you know. And he was just saying like, oh, that's too hard.
It's almost like saying, I'm gonna be a rock star.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I want to be in a big band and play and tour.
Yeah,
that's that's kind of not that hard to do in a sense when you think about it. It's just a lot of hard work. You know what I mean? Like, it's doable. It's just not easy. And so I kind of was like, maybe he's right, whatever. And then it wasn't that long after that I just saw on Facebook that Gearbox had posted like a thing that said, hey, we're looking for a community manager. And my thought was, hey, I could do that. And of course I look back on it now and I'm just kind of like patting past me on the head like, you're adorable. Like I had no like little like brand new babe, has no idea what he's talking about.
What exactly is a community manager for for the layman?
Well, so right now, to answer your question, a community manager is basically it depends on what studio, like where you're at, like what your studio, like different studios, do different things with their community people. For example, like what we do is I have moved from like a marketing side of things more to like a production side, which is really cool because I actually now get to be like boots on the ground with our development teams.
Oh, that's cool.
As people are reporting issues, I work closely with our support team and our development teams to like coordinate communication regarding these in-game issues and just any sort of things like that, and then help coordinate the fixing of that. So like, hey, someone found this thing. Are we aware of that? Yes, we are. What's the deal? Oh, it's actually been fixed in the next update. Or, we're looking into it. And then I can then take that back to the community and message that out and say, hey guys, here's the deal.
We're working on this.
That's basically what it is. And there are a lot of other things that I'm kind of doing and working on, but it's really cool. But it was just funny because like I saw that job posting and I was sort of like, oh, I could do that. That's easy, And I didn't, and I admittedly at the time even, I was like, I'm not really sure what that job is. Like, I'm not really sure how to do that, but I'm a big fan of Borderlands and I'm a big fan of Gearbox and I feel like I could do that, And then I kind of literally just sort of started learning what that sort of thing demands. And the more I learned about it, the more I realized like, yeah, this is me. This is for me. I could do this, And so at the same time, I went ahead and I applied for it, and I went home that day, and I think I even sent a text to Anna's brother, my brother-in-law, who's in the industry, and
he's a composer, right?
No, I believe he's an environment artist, or he's an art lead of some kind.
Okay, that's right. He worked on
on like Call of Duty and BioShock Infinite and some stuff like that.
Right.
So I sent him a text and I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm going to be sending you this tonight. I'm going to go home and shore this resume up and I'm going to send it to you. And then I want you to, read it over and find the typos and all that stuff and let me know what you think, right? Let me know what you think, typos. Bro. Whatever. And he's like, yeah, cool, man. That sounds great. Send it to me. So I went home and I kind of updated my resume and then sent it to him. And he sent me back this kind of long email, like a couple of paragraphs long, which for a guy that had, two very, very young daughters at the time, baby life is crazy and I don't have time to do anything but baby stuff, but I do have time to sit down and write you this email. I was like, what's wrong? Like,
yeah, that would be kind of
he has a lot
ominous.
Of notes. He has a lot of notes. Well, his basic note was, don't send them this. And I'm like,
was
what?
that like the last sentence?
Yeah, kind of.
The email?
Yeah, kind of. It was like, don't send them this. He's like, here's the thing. He's like, you don't have any experience in this field. You don't have any industry experience. You have a good reason for doing this. Like, you're on the right track, but your angle is weird in that you're just a big fan that knows you can do this. And that's enough, but it's not enough to just send that along with a vanilla Word doc of, hey guys, I can breathe and blink. Like, yeah, that's not enough. So I immediately knew what he meant. And so I actually went into Photoshop and I redesigned my resume with like Borderlands and Gearbox branding. And I don't know if I ever showed you the photos. I have some photos on my phone I can show you. But
I think you may have I think it was in your last day before you left.
Maybe so. But at any rate, I redid that in Photoshop. I went to the craft store and I bought like this wooden box, and I painted it like a treasure. Well, the red chest in Borderlands, like you open up and the guns and stuff are in there. I painted it to look like that, and I did the it's not technically cell shading. It is concept art style artwork on it, technically. But I did some like concept art style shading and things like that on it, and it was really cool. And I'm like iterating on this thing, and I'm working really hard. I think I worked on that box for like 3 weeks, and I'm iterating really hard. And I got to the end of it, and I was like, all right, the last thing that this needs is I'm gonna put a light in the box. I'm gonna wire an orange light into it because it's like the orange weapons and items in Borderlands are legendaries, right? I want them to know I'm legendary, right?
That's actually really genius.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean,
but then I thought, then I was
amazing.
like, as I started like doing the blueprint in my brain for that, I was like, wait a minute, hang on. I'm about to put a box with some wires and a battery
Okay.
in the mail to Gearbox. That could be weird on a number of levels. So I thought, okay, I will game development. From what I've learned so far in my very limited experience, is about iteration and editing yourself. Right? It's just like writing. It's just like music. It's just like many other things. It's like you come up with the best, most grandiose idea you can,
and then edit from there.
and then you start chopping things off. Cut features, we call them, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the legendary light in the resume box was a major cut feature. But I put the whole thing together and I shipped it off. I had put a thing in the top where I had Claptrap in the top of it, and it was this note that I had written as Claptrap that was like, "Hey Gearbox, we're buds. Me and this guy Joe are co-op buddies or whatever. You guys should hang out." That was sort of the premise, right? It was like, hey, I have an introduction from the Claptrap. You should look this resume over. So I packed all that up, and I was really proud of it, and I was nervous but excited, and I sent it off, and I gave it like a week, and then I just called the number. I just Googled like Gearbox software phone number. It turns out that that's a thing you can do. It's there, our number, and it's
just out there in the open?
It's there.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, wow, that was easy. Okay. So I called the number, and I talked to the receptionist, and I just told her my name and told her who I was and said, hey, yeah, I sent you guys a red chest resume in the mail. I'm not like looking for an answer or anything like that from you. I know that's not your deal. I just wanted to make sure it arrived okay. I just want to make sure you guys received it and it was okay, And her response was, oh, that was you? And I was like,
Good
yeah,
sign.
that was me.
Good sign.
And she's like, that was really cool. And I was like,
that's great that even the receptionist
exactly.
knows about it.
Because that was one of my goals. Like Anna's brother and I had talked, and he was like, look, if you can do something really cool that has like the other people in the studio like talking about it, and they think like, oh, hey, did you see this thing that person sent in, or oh, hey, whatever, that's good, and so apparently that worked. So she said, she's kind of like, okay, so look, I'm not trying to blow you off right now, but I'm going to have our HR department call you back. I'm going to get your info, and I'm going to have them call you back. Is that cool? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Gave her my info, and then the next day at like 3:30 on the dot, the HR department called, and they were just kind of like, hey, so what's up? What's your deal, man? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just some dude, whatever, I don't know.
Just a guy,
and they're like, that sounds cool. All right. So I talked to HR for a few minutes. That went really well. And then they were like, well, we'd like to schedule a call with our marketing department. Is that cool? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, that sounds cool. So she's like, all right, great. Date and time. Here you go. I'm like, all right, cool. So I called and talked to the marketing department, many people that I still work with now. And that went well. And they seemed to like me, and I liked them. And they were like, all right, cool. And then I guess a few days or a week or two went by, and then I got an email, and it's like, hey, how would you like to fly to Dallas? And I was like, I don't know what? And yeah, and then I was like, yeah, of course, that'd be amazing. So then at that point, I decided, like, if it all goes to hell now, like, I'm totally good. Like, I do not need this job.
Far.
This is totally fine, because like a couple weeks ago, I would not have imagined that I would have even gotten this far. Like, this is insane. So I flew down to Dallas, and this was in the old office. We're in a new office now, but went to the office, and they showed me around. It was really cool, and I had several meetings that day. And then the marketing team took me out to lunch, and while we're at lunch, a couple of the guys were talking, and I heard one say to the other, "What time do we have to be back for the hot seat?" And I'm like, what? And they must have noticed me sort of like, huh? What? Huh? You know? And they're like, oh, yeah, did anyone tell you about the hot seat? And I'm like, no. And they go, well, the hot seat is the part of the interview where we basically sit you down and everyone in the studio, everyone in the whole company is invited.
Oh,
and
my God.
Whoever decides to show up can just ask you anything they want. And I'm like, oh my God. You know, like I was freaking out.
That is so nervous. I'm nervous for you right now.
Well,
I'm
I was
just like,
freaking
oh
out
my
because
God.
I was freaking out because I'm imagining like this stage with like a stool and big gilded red curtains and this gigantic like 2,000 seat auditorium and it's full and people are just like, what do you think you're doing here, boy? You don't have no business working for Gearbox, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know either. I gotta go. Where's the bathroom?
What makes you better than my brother-in-law?
I don't know. Am I whatever? But it was funny because it turned out we got back to the office and it's actually like a really casual thing. And it was in the same conference room that we'd been meeting in. And it was basically the same people I had been meeting with all day. And then there were a few extras. And, you know, they came in and like we, you know, they basically just asked me questions like, you know, Star Wars or Star Trek? What's your favorite Ninja Turtle? Stuff like that, you know. And then they asked me some other questions too, but it was really more like the design of it is more to just sort of get a feel for like who I am.
Yeah, and your personality.
And,
Make sure you're not
exactly.
crazy or, you know.
Exactly. Or make sure you're the right kind of crazy.
Yeah,
as the case
right,
may have been.
right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So that went really well and it was cool. And then like I went back to the airport and I get on the plane and I'm feeling really good, you know. And then I get on the plane and I sit down and then I'm immediately like, oh fuck, like. Why did I say this? Why did I say that? What was I thinking? And then I immediately start picking it all, just torturing myself, which of course was ridiculous, you know, like it went fine and whatever. And then so I kind of bugged them for like a month or so after that. And I was like, so any news, what do you think? Any news, you know? And then it was kind of like, oh, check back in a week, whatever. And then finally, about a month later, they were kind of like, yeah, here's the thing. Like, we decided to go with somebody else. But sorry, cool, nice to meet you. And I was like, really kind of crushed. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of disappointing.
Even though I did say before, I was like, if it goes to hell, that's fine, whatever. And it kind of did for the moment, but I was bummed, but it was like, whatever. So then, like a day or two later, the guy that is now my boss emailed me and he was kind of like, hey man, you know, like, yeah, we decided to go this other direction with that position, whatever. But, you know, you seem like a pretty cool dude. And what if we offered you a contract position doing, you know, some things for the forums and the community and stuff like that? And I was like, really? Like, yeah, that's amazing, you know? And that is cool because, you know, if you're trying to get into the game industry, that's a good way to do it is find like a contract position, you know? And lots of people do that. And Gearbox is great about that. Like we have a whole program called COGS and it's a acronym. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's basically, you know, we'll bring in people that are just kind of getting their start, and Gearbox is really great about, you know, helping to foster their passion and helping them learn at, you know, it's like on the job learning, and then, you know, it might turn into full time and it might not, but either way, you still got some experience, you know, kind of get your foot in the door, which is really cool. So anyway, long story short, that contract stuff went on for, you know, about a year and a half. And then in January of 2016, I guess they called up and they were like, hey, can you fly to Dallas tomorrow? And I was like, sure. What's up? And they're like, well, you know, we've actually been working on this for a few months now, some restructuring and some moving some things around. And we're ready to kind of like do this. So like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, cool. So I flew to Dallas the next day. And then I basically went through the whole interview process again at the new office. So it was like, I had been to the old office the previous time. And I was like, oh my God, I'm at Gearbox. This place is amazing. Oh, you know? And then I went to the new office and I'm like, that place was a fucking dump. Like, and it was like, the new office is like amazing, you know? And I was just like, whoa, you know, like blown away. And then, so yeah, I went through the whole thing again, and I don't know how, I mean, I have no idea if this is applicable to anyone else at Gearbox, but I'm probably one of a very few people that actually had 2 hot seats. So we did the hot seat again.
Do they need to call it the hot seat? Can they call it like the gilded chair?
Yeah, now we just have, it's not a hot seat anymore. It's just kind of like, hey, Joe's here if you guys want to come say hey. You know, like, oh, go, guy, you know, how you doing, buddy? So that was cool, you know. And then it was like, all right, and I was still a little bit nervous about it, but it was much more of kind of like it wasn't as much like we don't know if we want you to do this. It was kind of more like, are the pieces going to fall into place for this to happen, you know? And they did. So that's kind of basically it. And then they were like, yeah, okay, we're good. Offer, good, accepted. All right, come move here. Okay, see you in a couple weeks, you know.
Oh,
and
man.
then we did. And I mean, you may remember. I mean, I was down there for like 5 weeks while Anna stayed here and
Right,
took
and
care
trying
of
to
our dogs
and then
sold
try
our
to
house,
sell the
and
house and everything.
this whole thing. So it's been really weird, even from like just a personal like adulting standpoint of. Oh, this is how you move to a new city for a job. Oh, this is how you like. I've never done that before. You know.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s now, and I'd never really left Nashville. You know, certainly not to live. You know, so it was just really weird. Of like, oh, we have to find movers, and we have to figure out all these things. It was really strange, but it was really cool. Like I obviously have no regrets. Like it's been an incredible ride. You know.
I mean, that's such a great story, and
Yeah.
such an inspiring story too. Is that it all started from you were just like, I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, I
can do this, and then you just went for it.
I think you ask anybody, I feel pretty safe. I mean, I can tell you for a fact that I have seen a lot of people give a lot of other people advice on how to get in the game industry, and the best advice that you can get is once you set your mind to something like, I want to be a level designer, I want to be a producer, I want to be a
writer,
community manager, a writer, a composer, anything. Once you set your mind to that, do not deviate and don't ever give up on it, and just keep grinding and keep pushing. That's the
it sounds so cliche, but it's
sounds
so
cliche,
true
but there's
though.
a reason, because it's so true. And people are always like, "Oh man, I'm after my dream job," but then for a lot of people, it's like their dream job is like. It turns out their dream job is actually to just kind of like sit on their ass all day. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's true for all of us to an extent. But like, your dream job is never easy. You know, like
Right.
don't expect to get your dream job and then you're like, okay,
Now I can relax.
I can relax and coast, because that's a great way to lose your dream job.
That's your
you know
dream
what I mean?
life. You're
Yeah.
getting your dream job
So-
and dream life mixed.
Yeah, so that's always my biggest advice, and the advice I hear from people is just like, don't ever give up, grind, and always be working hard to be better, you know.
Yeah.
Like once you do finally get in, because if you're working hard enough and you do have to get lucky, like there needs to be some luck in there too, for
Right.
sure.
Right.
But just be smart, think outside the box, work really, really hard, and then once you get there, just keep learning and try to be better and try to, you know, expand your skill set.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, but
that's it.
that story is so inspiring to people like me, because especially when you're going through like a transitional period like I am right now,
Yeah,
because like, you know, Five Knives was going really well for a while, and then it started not to, and then, you know, because it's the music industry, and as it does kind of suck, you know, it sucks sometimes.
It's funny for me coming from the music industry into the game industry, because it's similar in a lot of ways. You know, it's like, I mean, I hear all the time just like these unfortunate stories of like, you know, even friends of mine in the industry that are like getting laid off or, you know, let go for downsizing, things like that. Mm-hmm. And it's real. It happens, you know. And yeah, it's similar. It's really similar. It's pretty funny. I felt like even at the beginning that my experience in the game industry would really serve, or in the music industry would really serve me well in the game industry, and it has. Like it's very. I think it's really softened the blow of like, oh wow, what is this like? You know, it's kind of like I have a point of reference for a lot of different things because of that.
Yeah.
Know, so.
Well, because you're very people oriented. Like you do very well when talking to someone.
Yeah.
You're a very you're a social butterfly.
I run my mouth a lot.
Well, you're able to get along
flap
with
my meat flaps
you're
in the
able to get
wind.
along with anybody you meet, and that's a special quality, because there are some people out there that just
I try to.
they
yeah.
they have like stone face of like, I don't like this person.
Yeah.
I don't like this person.
Yeah.
You know.
It's yeah, it definitely helps to in my line of work to be a people person. That's for sure. Yeah, that's important.
And it's like coming from the music industry, you know, you kind of have to be a people person,
Yeah.
sort of, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And to an extent, if you want to keep fans, you can't just be like, well, unless you're like a super rock star, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, you know, you gotta,
Unless you get to that point, you were just like, whatever.
yeah,
Whatever, kid. I
but
don't know.
until you get to that point, you gotta be, you know,
Yeah.
personable. You gotta be
Yeah.
social. You gotta be like, thanks for coming to the show. You know, Yeah.
I learned a really weird lesson pretty soon after I came on full time at Gearbox, and that was when you're like, sometimes people come on at Gearbox, and I've noticed like because sometimes we'll set things out in the kitchens and whatever to have fans to have signed for fans, right? Like someone might contact us and say, hey, my friend is really sick and he's a big Borderlands fan, could you send me something? And then it's like, yeah, of course, hell yeah. And then we set things out, and then people may come by and sign those, and sometimes newer people feel weird about that because they're like, well, I didn't work on Borderlands, so I feel weird signing this copy of the game for this fan because I didn't work on this.
Right.
And I felt like, again, my music industry experience sort of taught me that, like, when you're, and I told this to one of my coworkers once when she was pretty new, and I said, it's like joining a band. Like, it doesn't matter if you wrote the songs, like, you inherit the catalog. Right.
You're a part of this team.
You're a part
now.
of it now. Like, you're a part of the history now. And one time I walked out of the office at the end of the day, and I think I'd worked a little bit late that day, and I walked out of the office, and this kid walked out of the coffee shop because down in the office at Gearbox, we have a coffee shop and a restaurant on the first level, and then on the second level there's a bunch of other businesses, and then 3, 4, and 5 are Gearbox. And so I came down and I'm walking out, and as I'm walking out of the office, this kid is walking out of the coffee shop, and he said to me, hey, I just wanted to tell you I really love Borderlands, and I wanted to say thank you. And I said to him, in a desire to be humble and honest, I said something like, oh, well, that wasn't me, man. That was a bunch of these other great people, but, yeah. And I remember he had this, and it was just a split second, but he had this look on his face, like a little bit kind of defeated, like disappointed. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, oh, okay. And I realized immediately that it wasn't that, like, he wasn't impressed that this guy didn't work on Borderlands. It's that I kind of like shot him down, and he was having this moment with me. You know what I mean? Of like, this thing that the company you work for meant a lot to me. It meant something to me, and I'm thanking you for it. And then I'm like, oh, you're thanking the wrong guy, man. That wasn't me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And then I sort of walked away from that, and I immediately realized, like, I should have just said you're welcome.
Yeah, that would
I should have just said, hey, man, thank you for playing, like, so that's one of those things, like, to your point, like, yeah, it definitely helps to be a people person. It helps to be, I feel like self-aware in a way of situations like that, where it's like, you're going to be always constantly learning lessons as you go, and just even throughout life in different ways. And I feel like it's important to really learn from things like that and like, improve on that, because that's like, yeah, even at that moment, I considered myself a people person, but then it was like, when it came time to really be the people person, I blew it.
Well, your musician instinct, like, kind of came.
Yeah, and like I said, I was just trying to be humble and honest with him, and I didn't want to take credit for something that I didn't do. But then it later occurred to me quickly that it was like, well, yeah, but again, like, once you sort of like, once you start to represent that to someone, you own it. So just just own it. It's okay.
It's like someone thanking Robin, and then Robin said, "It wasn't me, it was Batman."
Actually, Batman is the guy that saved you, man. But if you want to go out, I'm cool with that. But now she kind of wants to go out with Batman, right? I don't know. That's weird. Weird analogy. That's a weird analogy.
Okay, dude, I looked on your Facebook today. I was like, I gotta see if there's anything that I need to talk about in this podcast. And the first thing I saw was this cake that the Gearbox guys, or someone had given you or given somebody a cake. And it said, "Girls Gone Wild, never forget." What the hell is that all about?
So every Wednesday at Gearbox is cake day, right? So like, and it could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on whose diet you ask. For me, it's a very good thing, and I embrace cake day. But every Wednesday is cake day, and so at about 3:00, someone from our ops team will send out an email and say, hey, there's cake, like the old Jim Gaffigan joke. It's Bob's birthday. I hate that guy. There's cake in the conference room. I should go say hello, so it's kind of one of those things like, hey, there's cake in the kitchen on 5 or whatever. Come and get it. Ding, 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 And then one of our receptionists just has this really great sense of humor, and she's hilarious. And she comes up with stuff like that. So like, she came up with Girls Gone Wild, Never Forget, and it has like a eagle and an American flag on it. The same day there was like some weird like Happy Birthday Mr. T and like someone else.
Oh, so it's just
Captain
random. It's not.
Yeah, she just comes.
You
up with
guys
these,
don't have like Girls Gone Wild Saturdays.
No, she just comes up with this stuff, you know. And then like her emails are really long. Like she comes up with it's almost like Cake Day lore, I like to call it, you know. And she's like, "Here's the reason this is happening to you," you know. And then these birthdays, thank these people for this thing. I mean, it's brilliant. It's hilarious. And it's little things like that that just always keep things fresh and, you know, keep the job fun. Because, you know, you kind of hit these moments where you're like, oh, man, you know, I'm so, like, mentally tired or, like, you know, whatever. And then you remember it's like, oh, yeah, but they're going to give us cake today. And it's going to probably be hilarious, you know. And then you're like, I can keep going, you know. It's little things like that that are fun. But I think she got a cookie cake once that had, like, a penguin on it and it said Happy Thanksgiving or something like that, you know. It's pretty great. It's pretty funny.
Oh my god.
Pretty funny.
Dude, what is your life? You have cake day at your job.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's weird. It's definitely weird.
It's hard. It's like, man, cuz I remember when you were working at where is that? That's that drum company. What it was Meinl. Yeah. And you're like
I was like, "Hey man, you're a drummer. You want to do this?"
And I was like, no, thanks.
Get on over here. Yeah, I have this back injury, and they're like, "Come on, man." And I'm like, "Screw you, dude." You know, like, not worth it. But it's like I said, it's everybody has those jobs that are they just suck. You know, like it happens to everybody. But the important thing is like what's happening in your head about, okay, well, I have this unpleasant situation right now, but what am I doing to get myself out of it, even if it's long term, you know what I mean? Even if it's a couple years down the road, or in my case, probably not possible. But hey, man, dream.
Yeah,
you
dream
know what
big.
I mean?
Like dream for the next big thing,
buddy.
Always think about the next big thing. It's like, okay,
Exactly.
you know, and us as humans, that's what we do. Mm-hmm. Even if we climb the highest mountain, it's like, okay, where's the next mountain?
Yeah, I think so. And then sometimes like I even kind of have problems with that sort of thing, where like I'm looking too far into the future, and I'm like thinking too much about it. I'm working right now on just like being mindful and being like in the moment and worrying more about the present than the future, you know?
Right.
Like, that's something I'm really working on personally right now.
So like with your job, like, so now that you're in the industry, do you have time to play games, or do you have like those crazy like 8-hour days where you're like, it's like crunch period, you know?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't really have to get caught up in crunch because I'm not important enough, frankly, for that kind of thing. Like, they don't care. They're like,
don't sell yourself short, Dad,
hey,
Joe.
Man, you just do your little thing over here. You guys get back to work, though. Cake is not for you, you know. And I'm like, you're
like the new kid. You're like
it's just, you know, it's like it's whatever. But
you're the new kid that the parents
don't
yell at.
They don't care. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've totally lost my train of thought. And what was the question again?
Do you have time to play video games?
Yeah, right,
like,
of course.
Or is it now like a new schedule where they'll call you in and be like, hey, we have a problem.
No, yeah, not really. Yeah, I play. So my thing is like I have time to play games, but I'm always playing like the same game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like I'll go through periods where like right now it's obviously for me it's Destiny. Like I'm a really big Destiny fan, and so I play I have max level on all 3 of my characters, and I do the raids and all that stuff. You know,
I know you love Destiny. You and Doogie would always talk about Destiny.
Yes,
it's like I don't play Destiny, Joe. Talk about a different game. If people are
listening, right? You're all like, "What about Final Fantasy though?" And I'm like, "Nah, screw that shit, son. Destiny though is pretty good." I love loot games, right? Like anything I can like collect and then compare and then min-max stuff and all that. Like that's really what I'm into. So like that's why I love Destiny and Borderlands and things like that. Anything where there's like gear for me to collect, like guns and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's as disturbing as that sounds. Like that's really my thing. So I love looter shooters. So yeah, I'm really big into Destiny right now. I'm really hyped for Destiny 2. I did kind of take a break for a while a few months ago, and I played Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Oh, how is that? Does that look great?
I liked it.
It looks cool and fun.
Yeah, it was a lot like for me. It was kind of like Far Cry, but it had.
But it's third person, right? But it can be first person.
Well, so it's cool because it's third person, but whenever you go to aim down sights, it switches to first person, which for me is
it's sort of like Fallout.
Great. Yeah,
It's what Fallout
kinda.
does.
So yeah, that was always fun. But I liked it a lot. Like I think Ghost Recon Wildlands overall, it seemed like it got really good reviews for the most part. I think it sounded like there were some people that took issue with certain things about it, but I mean, all I know is I had fun playing it, and it was anything that I can play where I get kind of obsessed is like fun for me.
Hell yeah.
And then Anna's always like, this shit again? And I'm like, what?
It's Ghost Recon.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's fun.
Did you play? I know you were a big fan of what is that other Bethesda first-person stealth game? It's blanking on. me.
Dishonored.
Dishonored. Did you play Dishonored 2?
I played part of it, and I got to go back and finish it. I really liked what I played.
Because I've heard complaints about that game.
Sidetracked.
I've heard complaints about that game being basically the same thing as Dishonored 1.
It seemed pretty similar, but I mean,
I never played either
for
of them
me,
because I'm
like-
terrible at first-person perspective.
well, and seeing a lot of people are kind of after the Destiny 2 reveal. I've heard a lot of people say like, it looks just like Destiny 1. It looks like it should be an expansion instead of a new game. Which, first of all, it's pretty early to be saying stuff like that, in my opinion. But like, I like that kind of. I like familiarity. I don't need to. I don't. In fact, I mean, like, I don't want to play Dishonored 1 and then fall in love with those mechanics and that art style and that game, and then play Dishonored 2 and it's like, oh, it's completely different. Like, I think they change things in all the right ways. I mean,
well, if it works, why fix it?
yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think like in Dishonored 2's case, personally, like, they gave you a second playable character that was female, which is rad, and then this whole entire new world. So it's like, yeah, they brought back some similar powers and things like that, but it wasn't like it was a carbon copy of Dishonored 1, to me at least. Like, I thought it was cool. I keep meaning to go back and like play more of it and finish it, because I love Dishonored 1 so much that I've done so many playthroughs of it, and I might have told you about this, but I tried to do one of the Ghost playthroughs once on Xbox 360 to get there were 2 achievements where if you could play a complete stealth playthrough and not be spotted, that was an achievement. And if you could not kill anyone the whole time while doing that, that was the second achievement. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. And I saw a series of videos on this guy and how he did it, and I was like, I have to recreate this because this looks like so much fun. So I did it. And I get to the end of the campaign, and I finish, and then one achievement pops, and the other doesn't. And I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, you did tell me about this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? So, like, I started going back through where you can see your stats for each level. And I start going back through, and then there's the level in the middle where you're having to make it across Caldwell's Bridge. And I accidentally threw a guy. And I remember it happening too, because what happened was I choked this guy out, and then I'm carrying him over toward like the edge, and then there was this little ledge like right off the edge of the bridge, and I'm like, oh, I could drop him right there. That's perfect. And I dropped him, and it must have just been like a little bit too far of a drop for the game, and the game registered that as a kill. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
He went the whole game thinking
So
that.
I was like, and I just honestly didn't. Probably all I had to do maybe was like go back and redo that level and not kill anybody this time. But like, I just didn't have the heart. I was like, screw it.
Did you
So,
play
the one that got away?
motherfucker died too soon? Did you play Doom? The new Doom that came out.
Yeah, that was.
I've been
rad.
meaning to get that.
I didn't finish it, but see, that's the thing too. I should note that like, I have ADHD dripping out of my ears all the time. You may have noticed it. So I rarely finish games. Like, even if I love it, like I just don't ever finish games because I'm moving on. Well, actually, I'm not moving on to the next thing. I'm usually moving back to like Destiny or Borderlands or something like that. Something that one of my mainstays, you know. But yeah, I played that and I enjoyed it. I didn't play a lot of it, but it was awesome. It was really awesome.
I want to buy it.
Fast it was. It was so good.
I want to buy it just for the music alone.
Yeah, the music is rad.
Did you see that video game awards show where the composer actually did a live performance of that song?
I think I did. I think I saw part of it. Yeah.
I mean, I was floored.
It was nuts.
I was like, "This is metal."
Yeah, the music is rad. The music is rad, and those guys, they're in Dallas. Like they're right down the street, kind of. So I have a couple friends that actually used to work for Gearbox and now work for id. And I'm always like, so what's going on over there now? And I know they can't tell me, but I have to ask. You know what I mean?
Well, aren't they doing Quake next?
Yeah. I think that's getting close. I don't think it's out yet. Maybe it's like an early access.
It's going to be completely. There's going to be no campaign. It's just going to be completely online.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think so. I think it's going to be like just like old
Quake, because old Quake didn't have a campaign
and new. Yeah, but I'm excited to play it. I've never. PvP games for me are always weird because like I want to be better at them and I'm just not really that great. Like I'm average, I'm okay, but I want to be really good. And I watch these YouTube videos where these guys like make it look easy and they're like, oh yeah, 360 no scopes and such, you know. And then I'm like, why can't I do that?
That's what pissed me off about playing old Halo games. When,
totally.
Like playing online, because that was when it first became like a thing. You know, console players finally were able to play online and be in like PvP and stuff like that. But man, I sucked compared to all these 12-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And that just, my confidence shut down. It's like, I'm nothing.
My biggest thing was like Call of Duty. I would find these ways to like, I would find videos that were like, oh, you know, here's how you get a nuke and all that. And I'm like, oh, crazy. All right. And then I would sort of emulate, like play exactly on the map and where, you know, the area on the map that they were. And I'm trying to like recreate this thing. And then sometimes I'd get it and I'd be like, oh man, it's so close. And then, hopes dashed. Like I die or something. I'm just horrible. Like a sniper across the map, like headshot. Oh, great. Thanks, guy. I was working towards something here, you know? I was working towards something.
Crushed my dreams,
and you ruined it. Sucks.
Yeah, I don't play online very often for that reason, because I just get too mad. I threw my controller so fucking much when I was playing old Halo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was so fucking mad.
Yeah, I think Destiny did a good job of like putting incentives for people like me that might be gravitating toward like PvE content over PvP content and vice versa. Mm-hmm. I think they did some good things there with like, oh well, if you like this gun or you like this item, you can only get that by playing PvP, so you have to kind of give it a shot, you know. Mm-hmm. And I did that some, and I think that was a really interesting thing. And I mean, other games have done it too. It's not just Destiny, but I thought that was good. So
what's the okay? So I've never played Destiny because, like I said, I'm terrible at first person shooter games. But and Halo, I was a terrible Halo too. Yet I played it a lot. What was the like? I heard something that people. Yeah, you said earlier that people are complaining that the game looks too similar to Destiny 1. Mm-hmm. Like, is that the only complaint? Is like,
I don't know.
Is it in beta right now?
No, not yet. I think they have a beta soon. They haven't announced the date yet, but I'm really excited about that. But I just saw that they did a really cool like reveal stream, like a reveal event. Really, it's not even fair to call it a stream. Like they streamed it, but it was just this big event that they did a couple weeks ago, and it was really cool. And yeah, it's like that was just one of the things I saw. I don't know. I certainly haven't seen a lot of complaints about it because everyone's so hyped. Like the Destiny community itself is just so excited. But like, yeah, it's like some people were saying, "Oh, it looks like Destiny 1." And I mean, honestly, I think I'm fine with that. And I didn't think it looked just like Destiny 1. Like the game looks gorgeous. Like it's so clear that they've gone in and they've taken a lot of feedback from the community. That it's interesting, like working in community and then also being in a community. Right. I think that's actually like a really important dynamic that some people miss sometimes. Is like if you want to work in community, like be in a community, you know, so that you can see like, you know, you get a feel for like what that dynamic is like. What's it like when a developer makes a change on their game and how when it's perceived positively versus negatively. What is that like? How, you know, like observing all those things is really interesting.
We live it like the gaming industry is in such a weird moment with, you know, the advent of social media. Yeah, I guess every industry is now. I mean, every industry, like someone has to say something about something and some sort of controversy is going to happen if it, Mass Effect, for example, like I don't know if I would have enjoyed the game any less or more if I had not heard about all the controversy that came out before I bought the game. Yeah. And, you know, it's stuff with like Final Fantasy, when like Final Fantasy was going through its horrible development process, like, and then when it was released and everyone, like half the people hated it and half the people loved it. So it was just, I would stupidly read all these forum posts about just people just trading barbs with one another, and it's like I'm just thinking to myself, like, what a crazy fucking time that we live in now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
It is. It really is.
like these poor companies now have to like listen to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, 20 years ago, you just made the game, and if people didn't like it, you would hear it, and it would all come in mailbox form.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like, oh, well, let's get the hate mail. Let's read it. It'll be just a day of hate, not every day. Someone's hating on something.
The thing is that it's not always that bad. Like, there have been people at work that are like, oh man, I couldn't do what you do. It's like there's too much negativity and things like that, and that's like part of it. But it's not, it's not like everything is negative. Like, there's tons of the positive feedback, like, overall it always outweighs the negative stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's how you look at it too. But it's always that negative comment that just, like, especially if you're involved in development of the game, or if you're a writer, or if you're for coding, or and you hear that one negative, just like music.
Yeah,
just like someone didn't like your lyric.
I'm always kind of like, well, I couldn't do what you guys do, because number one, if I tried to program anything, this place would fall apart and we'd all die. It'd blow up. But yeah, that's the thing, is like it's one thing to sort of be one of the people that's charged with helping to, like, drink from that fire hydrant, because you can't please everybody, and you can't even hear feedback from everybody. It's not possible. The key is to know where and to whom to go to get the most valuable feedback, and to utilize your influencers and people in your community to know what's happening in a broader sense.
Right.
And that's my thing, man. I'm always kind of like, it's one thing to be charged with being one of the people that is responsible to help in that process, and then it's another thing to be the guy that, like, wrote the story or composed the music or did this thing, and then it's like, oh man, I hate that character's animations, they suck. And it's like, to me, that's no big deal, whatever, that's one person's giving their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, hey, maybe the person that animated that character, that really, like, affects them and bums them out, so, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, that's my thing. I don't think I could be on the other side of it for that reason.
So is that what you do? You're basically just, like, feeding what the community is saying to the development team?
Like, not stuff like that, like, oh hey man, your animations suck. This one guy
I know, not stuff like that, obviously, but being the vine to the development team, like, hey,
for
this
me,
is what's going on.
it's specifically related to, like, technical in-game things, right? So, like, if someone says, hey, I was playing this mission in Battleborn and I noticed this bug, just wanted to let you guys know, and then I can take that to the team and say, hey, is this something we're aware of? And then they can say, yeah, it is, okay. Next update or whatever. And I can kind of be the person that's like, because, our development teams, they're busy developing, they're busy. They're all really great about staying involved and aware of what the community's doing. But at the end of the day, like, it's people like me and the other people at Gearbox that handle these things that are the ones that are finding it and then taking it to them and filtering it too. There's a lot of stuff that's like, you see, and people might be like, oh man, the game glitched, which that's not even a real thing. What does that mean? You know what I mean? But it's like taking the glitches and finding out, is this an important thing that they need to know about, that we need to figure out? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But when it is, that's what I do, is I take that to them and we're like, hey, let's work this out. That's part of it. So,
man.
Yeah, it's fun. Believe me, I by no means mean to make it sound like a slob.
No, that's a good man. I mean, I love that.
We have our community especially is amazing. We have, just great, fantastic people in it that are passionate about. It's really cool to be a part of a team and a part of a group that's making something that people, draw inspiration from, to name their children, find a mate, marry someone, date someone, even like. We get the craziest stories from people that are like, hey, I had a kid and I named it Roland, because the Tiny Tina DLC really affected me. And we're like, what? Like, it's crazy. It's just insane. So
I was going to say something and I totally forgot what it was.
Podcast over. All right.
Yeah, podcast over. Damn. Yeah, dang it. What was I saying? Oh, gosh, it was something important. Oh, yeah. That's, like, hooray for video games being art. That's what my buddy Keith said on the last podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like what he would do to show people who aren't into video games. He would show them. Did you ever play a game called Journey?
Yeah,
Have you ever heard of it?
yeah.
I never played it, and he told me about it. Now I really want to play it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
And so that is my dog.
And that is definitely
Pig. My dog is barking. Silence! Silence!
He's like, you never let me be on the podcast, Dad. Yeah, Journey is cool, and Journey seems like that's one of those games that when people are having that discussion about our video games art, that's one of the ones they go to is Journey, and they're like, what about this? Because it is pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
it's cool.
And it's just like, I don't know, just like for us, for our generation, like we're kind, we're in our 30s now, and I wonder if the new generation will appreciate the kind of turmoil video games and gamers in general kind of went through.
I don't think so.
Back in the day, I
don't think so at all. But I think that's natural,
Yeah,
I think in order to truly like understand something like that and respect it and get it, by and large, you have to have gone through it. You know what I mean? But I don't know. There's gonna probably be a few that are like, oh hey, I kind of read up on this ish, and yeah, this was crazy, man. Wow, respect, bro. But I don't know. I think I see a lot in like video game discussion and debate of like things like that. Like, are video games art? Are video games this? Are they that? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm like, I don't feel like qualified to even comment on any of that, because to me it's just like about.
Are you enjoying
game
it?
And am I having fun? Like that, it's just so simple to me,
right?
But I mean, I know there are a lot of people that are really into the idea of, and it's totally okay to be, but really into the idea of having those discussions and trying to get to the bottom of those things. And I don't know, it's just not something I really think that much about.
Yeah.
Especially I think it's interesting, though. I really do. I think it's really interesting to have those conversations. It's just not. It doesn't keep me up at night.
It's crazy that video games now are going into these like really intense like social conversations about like women in video games and race and
or Far Cry 5, right? Like, have you seen this stuff?
No,
you haven't seen any of the key art or anything for Far Cry 5?
No.
Oh man,
what's going on?
I feel like we need to hit pause so you can just Google some shit right now.
I don't have my phone is.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So I'll tell you. So like,
don't worry, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Post
do
edit.
Post edit. Do like a post edit and be like, hey, so I'm back, right? And oh my god, he was right. Whoa. Far Cry 5, I think this is brilliant, and the idea across the industry that I'm seeing seems to be, this is brilliant, and if Ubisoft pulls this off, this could be like monumental in terms of political statements in video games. I hope I'm not overselling it there, but like I feel like it's going to be really cool. Far Cry 5 is set in Montana, and you are basically like fighting against a cult. Let's call it a cult.
Okay.
They've been using the word cult in their own marketing material, I think. So that's their word, cult. But it's pretty interesting and it's pretty fucking relevant.
Oh, okay. I'm okay. I'm intrigued. You have me intrigued.
It's interesting.
But it's related to what we
read
just
up on
were
it.
Talking about.
Well, it's like it just gets into the idea of the, like we said, these discussions we're having, like, are video games art? There's another one that's like, do politics and social ideas and statements belong in video games? Personally, I think yes. I think anything you want to say belongs in your video game because it's no different than music or anything else. And I think that with Far Cry 5, Ubisoft is making a big statement. I am personally excited about it, and I'm very excited to see how it goes, and I will be playing that game day one.
Wow.
Without a doubt.
Damn.
I'm really excited. I'm a Far Cry fan, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's one of those games. Again, I love games like that where I can collect things and things to do, and it's all over the place. That's great. I'm really excited about Far Cry 5.
Okay.
It looks pretty. It looks pretty crazy.
You have color me
in a
intrigued.
good way. In a very good way.
Intrigued. I'm wow.
So yeah, I can't.
You
wait
definitely sold it the perfect amount,
can't
though.
wait
You
to
didn't
listen.
oversell it.
I don't want to oversell it. I don't know, man. I'm just all I can do is express my own personal excitement about it, and that's all I'm hoping to do. But it's gonna be interesting.
Ubisoft
really
is always kind of. I remember playing the first Assassin's Creed game way back when, like 2010, when the first one came out. And I remember the end of that game and like seeing the stuff on the walls. Did you play the first one? Right? Did you ever beat it?
Actually, I missed the first one. I started at Assassin's Creed 2, but I played the shit out of Assassin's Creed 2.
A lot of people
100%'d
either
it all over the place.
Yeah. a lot of people either hated the first one or they were just kind of like, it was just too much of this or too hard or whatever. They just never finished it.
Yeah.
But if you finish the game and you go through the end boss and then it starts and then you go to the present day and then the very last scene, you're in the infirmary of this place that you've been in through the entire game, that Desmond's been in through the entire game. And he wakes up and he uses his like special power to like look at stuff at the walls.
Eagle vision.
The eagle vision. He saw stuff on the walls and it's like stuff according to like the Illuminati and shit.
Dude.
And I was like, the Illuminati.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. It's in the game. Oh my gosh! And it got me so excited for like the next Assassin's Creed installment.
Yeah,
and,
dude.
Like, but Ubisoft has always kind of like teetered on that. Like, we'll put a little social or
and
political.
I think that's great. I really
stuff
do.
in there.
Yeah, I think it's great. And they're gonna do it again, man, and in a big way.
Didn't they kind of do it with Watch Dogs 2 or Watch Dogs 1 and the whole conversation about like
government surveillance,
and Big
absolutely.
Brother and stuff like that? So
I was reading an article the other day online somewhere talking about that. Actually, they did the same thing. They're like, Ubisoft has never been one to shy away from this sort of thing, and here are some examples. And that was like a thing they brought up too, was Watch Dogs. I think it was Watch Dogs 1. They were talking about the government surveillance aspect, which was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. You have man. I've never played a single Far Cry.
Oh man, you totally should. They're so good.
I know.
Yeah, they're so good. I haven't played Far Cry 2 actually, but that's supposed to be like a really classic Far Cry game. I think the first one I played might have been Far Cry 3. Yeah, I think it was Far Cry 3. You would also love Far Cry Blood Dragon because it is like 80s tastic.
Oh, yeah, okay. I remember seeing
it is like over the top, amazing, like just so good. But yeah, I like Far Cry. I like the Far Cry games a lot. I really do. They're good.
I feel like Ubisoft gets like a love-hate relationship. Like they make great games like Far Cry, and then sometimes they'll like fall off the train and like they'll come out with Assassin's Creed Unity and they'd be totally fucked up and like no one and then everyone hates Ubisoft again and then they come back with come out with Far Cry 4 and everyone loves it and then
that's I mean look again, like I feel like I'm not really equipped to give like the best commentary on those sorts of things, but what I can tell you is that in my experience taking risks is encouraged. And like, sometimes those things work and sometimes they don't. Yeah. And it's just like with anything else. It's like, you can't not make a game or you can't not write a song or put out a record or do a painting or things like that because you're scared people might hate it,
Yeah.
And that's funny coming from me. I'm now realizing in my internal dialogue because I've done that thousands of times and I'm sure we all do. But it's one of those things that ultimately you got to give it a shot. And like, hey man, it might work and it might not, but I guess we're going to see. We're going to find out, I don't know.
I guess, that's, that's what I really liked about Final Fantasy 15, and it kind of really divided the fan base a little bit, but like, it was different in that it wasn't such a heavy storyline. There wasn't like a lot of dialogue really, but they really embraced the whole open world aspect that the Western gaming market really loves. Market shows that those games sell the most. So they went that direction and did I think a really good job making it kind of like bringing out that open world aspect to it. But again, not a lot of Final Fantasies were really that kind of open world game. And so that really divided the fan base. But they took the risk, and I'm glad they did. I personally really enjoyed 15.
Well, you know this about me, and people at work have found this out, and they're always like, "What? I've never played a Final Fantasy game ever." I think I played the demo for 15, and I was just kind of like, wait a minute, I'm a truck? What? I'm a truck now?
You played the tech demo.
Yeah, the tech demo thing or whatever. And I was later told someone told me they're like, no, that's not anything like the game. Like
it was that was a really confusing thing. That was really confusing.
So weird.
It was just I think when they came out with 13 and everyone hated that game. At least 75% of the fan base hated that game.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, and then they had the problem with Final Fantasy 14, the online version. The online game, and then they had to basically scrap that entire game after it was released for like 6 months. They were like, okay, scrap the game, re-release it for free. They had to completely redo it, and then now it's become like one of the best MMOs out there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so they fixed that, and so they just had a lot of big tumbles, big stumbles rather, and like with 15, I think they did a great job.
Yeah,
I think
it seems to have done well, and everyone that I've talked to loved it.
Yeah,
and I mean, I see even a lot of our, I've seen a couple of our Borderlands cosplayers online, and they've done some really, really cool Final Fantasy 15 cosplays that are pretty incredible. So that's like a whole other. I could do a whole other podcast episode about cosplayers and how much that freaking blows me away.
I know. Actually, it was just I was talking to Aaron about that last night when we were all at dinner, and because I'm trying to think of like what I could do for my next video, and I'm not gonna give too much away, but I'm thinking of a character that has a lot of fucking armor. And I tried to find like maybe some like cosplay shop like sells it, but it's not a very common character. It's not like Mario or Sonic. But you just look at all these cosplayers and the amount of work that they go through to make these so real.
Dude, believe me, I know. It blows me away. It really blows. And every time I see them, I tell them, I'm like, you guys are nuts. Like in a good way,
in the best way possible.
Like this is crazy. So it's so cool, like especially like the Borderlands cosplayers. Many of them kind of have formed this community of their own called the Border Fam, and they're great. And man, there are some people in that group that are like wild.
They are
wildly
dedicated.
talented.
They are a dedicated
They
bunch.
really, really are. They really are.
I mean, when I did that Attack on Titan video, I was dying being sitting in a chair getting makeup for 2 hours. Yeah. Imagine what they had to go through.
Man.
They
do it on their own,
Yeah.
And then they create these amazing things, and then they just pack it in the car and, hey, I'm going to go to a show just to see my friends and wear my cosplay and hang out. It's the coolest thing ever.
Mad respect to all the fucking cosplayers out there.
Absolutely.
You guys are a dedicated bunch.
And especially the Gearbox related cosplayers.
Yes.
We love you.
Well, I think, how long have we talked?
I don't know. What time is it?
What time is it?
It's like 9 o'clock now.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. We're time stamping.
We're time stamping.
We're time stamping ourselves here.
I think I can't.
Do
think
you
of
have any
anything
other
else.
questions?
I don't
Shane?
have any other questions. I just wanted to. I'm just so happy for you.
Well, thanks.
I know I've said it a million times before, but like just such an inspiring like story that you had to go through.
I'm glad we were finally able to do this. Like it's fun. Podcasting is fun.
Yeah, this has been fun. And also thank you very much for like giving me you're the first like thing I've ever done in front of a microphone for so long.
Yeah.
And I've always been a drummer.
Yeah.
So because I've never been confident in my speaking voice,
yeah.
I'm obviously a terrible conversationalist.
Well, the thing is, like, everyone hates their speaking voice. Like, I feel like right now I'm like, yeah, man, I sound cool. Yeah, I sound cool. But when I hear this back, I'm gonna be like, no, God, why?
So gross.
Why did I talk? I should have just drawn pictures or something. Like, ooh, I sound like an idiot.
Yeah, but this is like me doing this is kind of like a character. Being able to fix some flaws in my speaking. Now, listen back to these podcasts, be like, what the fuck are you talking? Say a sentence.
Why
say
did
at
you
least,
say that?
Say a sentence. Stop stumbling over your words. I just
thing.
get really excited when I'm about to have a question and 1,000 other questions go in my head. So hopefully, like, after episode 50, I'll actually be able to have a nice, calm conversation.
Episode 50 is kind of where it clicks and you're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So you've only got like 47 46 episodes more.
Yeah something like that.
There you go.
Yeah,
you're getting there. You're almost there, man.
I'll get there.
Keep grinding.
So you guys just wait.
Yeah, just you wait.
2 listeners.
Yeah, you just wait. Back in my day, I don't know, whatever.
All right, man. Well, thanks for doing this, man.
You're welcome.
I really
I'll
appreciate it.
Bill
me later.
Yeah, put the check in the mail.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. High five.
High fives.
So they can hear it. Take 2, take 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for listening to the podcast. As always, rate the podcast. Get me up there in the ranks. Subscribe if you like it. like and subscribe all the videos on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/wisedrums. Follow me on Facebook, Wise Drums, Instagram, Wise Drums, Twitter, The Wise Drums, because some asshole took Wise Drums. And I don't know who you are, but you're not the real Wise Drums. I'm the real Wise Drums. Okay? So step off it. Anyway, yeah, follow me on all my socials. The next episode is going to be Keith Lancaster and George Woods, who works for Nintendo. So it's going to be exciting. Awesome. So can't wait to record that. I'll see you guys next time.